Good evening, Benefit Spongers. Well, it's evening for me anyway. Is it evening for you? If you know what I mean. Clocks. Yes, I'm doing all right. That's a lie, actually. I'm doing terribly, but it's entirely my fault, and you should have absolutely no sympathy for me. I did that, I say classic, I don't know how many people did that thing last night of I went out for a drink with a friend, had as many drinks as I could drink, and hit that point of being like, I can't drink any more drinks, because if I do, I'm going to be really hungover. And then I found out that a really close friend of mine from back home up north, Cheshire, was in town, and he was literally just around the corner. So I went, hello, and then I had more drinks. And today I've been really hungover, but I've managed to do a lot of work. I managed to get Daft Souls episode 14 all edited and up and uploaded, and all of the FTP stuff that comes with that. And I managed to do the same with regular features, which was an emergency episode this week, which was mainly me talking about Glastonbury, actually. So if you're interested in that, go and have a listen to that. And then some other stuff. The other stuff I was doing, actually, was a bit of VO. I'm also, just so you know, I'm drinking, it looks like piss, but it isn't. It's just cheap whiskey. Oh, so hopefully I'm going to, throughout the course of this video, replace my hangover with something a bit more subtle and fruity. But yeah, the other thing I've been doing, actually, I've been doing a little bit of this. A little bit more now, actually, because it's ramping up in terms of the number of them, but it's still not a lot. But I should probably mention it to you guys just because obviously you are basically my bosses. So in the same way that I'd tell a boss what I was doing, I've been doing, and a few people have noticed this, actually. I don't think anyone has really directly mentioned it here, but I've been doing some little voiceover work for a YouTube channel. A YouTube channel which is basically top 10 lists. It's nothing terribly good. And that's the main reason I didn't really talk about it. It's not that it's work that I'm ashamed of. It's just work that I don't really care about, you know? So yeah, I think it's a YouTube channel called Top 10 Media. You can look at it if you want. You can go and look at them. They're all right. I mean, it is basically just me reading stuff out while still images move around. As I say, it's one of those things really where, like, I don't really have my name on it that much. I think the account comments with the name Matt, but I don't really want the involvement more than that because it's like not me writing the comments. So I'm like, nah, you can call it Matt if you want, but it's not me, and I don't want my full name on it because, I don't know, that just seems like a sticky fucking route to go down, and having people using your name on social media when you're not there, no, that's not going to happen. But yeah, that's the thing I've been doing on the side, which ties into like what I want to do quite nicely, really. I think as I've talked in the past, like it's all about, for me, all about ensuring that I don't do too much stuff on the side, so I don't get a chance to do video stuff for you guys, which is what I want to do. But also, you know, when I get opportunities to A, make a nice bit of money for not a lot of work, and B, do things that I personally want to do in terms of furthering my own abilities, then I'll do that. And in this case, actually, this is quite a simple one. One of the things I want to do, a couple of things I'd like to do over the next few years. I'd like to improve my ability as a voice, just a voiceover artist, really. I kind of like doing it. I like trying to control my voice and say things in a nice way. It's kind of good fun, and so I'm enjoying doing this because it's a bit more a challenge to like have to understand the process a bit more. Because obviously, when it's just me saying stuff, it's not the same. So to have a process where I get given scripts and I need to amend the scripts a little bit to suit my style, and then work out the best way to do that, and work out the best way to record these things and do them, and it's good practice. I'm quite enjoying that. I'd also quite like to do some presenting, but I'd have to find the right thing for that, really. But if I did have some people contact me and want me to do some presenting, like on camera stuff, then I might consider doing it if it was the right thing, really. It would have to be a really good fit. I'm actually having a conversation, well, I'm not having a conversation, I'm trying to have a conversation with some people at the moment about doing that specifically, actually. But I'm not going to say anything about it now because it's properly like, probably won't happen. It's something that I would really, really like to do. And I'm reaching out to try and sort it out. If it is going to go ahead, or it looks like it's going to go ahead, obviously I'll talk about it. But for now, it's probably a bit unprofessional to do so. But it wouldn't be anything major. It would just be a little thing on the side. And yeah, it'd just be something quite cool to do. Because, yeah, one of the things I haven't really accounted for recently is I'm kind of going a bit insane being on my own so much. Not in a bad way, and I think I'm on top of it. And I just have to make sure that I do things like I did last night of going out and having a drink with people. I've just never been terribly good at organizing my own social life. I've always been one of those people who just turns up to things. But I don't get invited to things as much anymore because I don't work in an office and stuff. So yeah, I need to kind of keep on top of that. So at the moment, it's this weird thing of also I'm really enjoying the freedom I have and the amazing opportunity I have to do this creative stuff without having to worry about all sorts of stuff that get in the way of it. I do miss working with other people. And so, yeah, I'm kind of making sure that next time, whatever I end up doing to replace the escapist stuff, because I am keen to have one thing a day where I'm just doing something else. I really want to have something where I'm not on my own. Small violence. Seriously, it's fine. It's more about me just thinking long term. Really, it's like I don't want to get myself into a position where I do this for like a year and then suddenly go, oh god, I'm going fucking mental. I need to get out. I need to go and like work in an office. I'm just trying to work out a way of. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, you know. It's like sustainability, keeping something keeping something sustainable, keeping something. It's not just about money. It's about all sorts of things. Like, it's about all sorts. Yeah, if you want something to be sustainable for a long term, then unfortunately the first thing which comes up is money. That's like the important thing because otherwise you just can't do it. But there are other factors involved as well, and some of that is to do with like happiness, and happiness isn't related to money, really, I don't think. Yeah, I've never found that at all. Money's just something that you need. Like, it's boring. It's really boring. You need it for rent and food and equipment. But once you've got equipment, it's sort of fine. So yeah, I think it's more interesting things now for me about being sustainable. It's to do with like having a good control on my mental state, having a good control on how happy I am both with my work and my life, and which are the two are heavily interconnected. I mean, actually, like my dad is probably the person who's taught me the most about this stuff. He's really fucking good. He's a career author called John Lees. He wrote a best-selling book called How to Get a Job You'll Love, which I've never actually read because I've never needed to, amazingly. But I've always had a copy, and I've always been like, well, I'll read that if I ever get stuck. But he writes a bunch of stuff, but How to Get a Job You'll Love, I've read bits of it, and it's very, very good. And I used to help him out at conferences, and I used to listen to him talking to people about work and talking to people about jobs and all this stuff. And yeah, he's incredibly smart, and also like just watching him talking to people and watching him explain like how best to like approach jobs and trying to get jobs and working out what career you want to be involved in. Which is really inspiring. I think I was probably about 20 when I was doing that stuff, and it really soaked into my head. And it was like one of these weird things that I didn't really understand my dad before that. I didn't really see. Yeah, sorry, this is going majorly off kilter and off topic here, but I didn't really understand my dad before that. I knew he was a very smart man, but I didn't really feel very much like my dad in many ways. I look a lot like him. We've both got the same fucking nose and same curly hair, even though I choose to do drastically different things with it. But yeah, you can look him up. It's called John Lees. John Lees. Check it out. Because yeah, especially if you're in a position where you are thinking about jobs or thinking about changing career, his stuff is really genuinely good. But anyway, the thing was I didn't really understand him, and I didn't really understand what the connection was there. And I kind of more directly kind of saw what I got from my mum, who's just mad. She's a children's poet, and she's just a nutter. She's brilliant. But I was kind of like, yeah, I'm loads like my mum, but I don't really get like what I get from my dad that much. And it was kind of bizarre to like sit and listen to him talking to people and listen to him trying to like looking at different perspectives and clearly just being really insightful about people and just trying to really have a strong understanding of what makes you happy in life and identifying that and trying to be rational about everything and trying to just get the most out of yourself and ensure that you're happy and ensure that those around you are happy and trying to actually kind of not change the world in a major way, but change the world in a tiny, meaningful way, you know, helping those around you and just trying to help people realize things about themselves and realize their dreams through that, you know? And yeah, it was pretty inspiring. And it was like, oh shit, actually, like, I don't know. I realized that we actually had almost identical kind of worldviews in a way, but I didn't know that, which sounds bizarre. But we just do it in different ways. I guess I still do similar things in a way. I mean, he talks to people about jobs and the importance of finding a job that you like because it's your life, it's your whole life, which is such a simple point, you know? You spend the majority of your life working. If you don't enjoy your job, then you've got to change that because it's your life. It's the most important thing. Whereas I guess what I do is an equal thing. I mean, it's not really preaching, but just making sure that you just actually trying to make people understand the way that everything can be better, you know? It's not difficult. Things can be better for everyone. And I guess in mine, I'm very passionate about video games, and I think video games can be better. And I think that we can be better, you know? And it's not a case of trying to tell people what they should and shouldn't do. It's just sometimes trying to point out simple things and just be like, this is crap. We can fix it. Positivity. Anyway, that was random. I just ended up talking about my dad for a while. But do check out his books. I'm not just saying that. He's clearly, it's quite inspirational and quite clever stuff. And I'm very, very proud of him. Anyway, what have I been doing this week? Well, loads of stuff. Really catching up. I felt like after last week, which you might remember, I was completely wiped out. I feel like I've finally got my energy back this week. And I've just been trying to catch up with shit. Although I have realised, and I did tweet about this, and I apologise if this causes you any upset, but I kind of hit a wall, right, in the fact that I was doing all of the abridged stuff from E3, and I was enjoying doing it. But then I was like, I don't have time to do this one. I'll do the Sony one next week. And then stuff came up, and it was like, I haven't got time to do it. And I found myself this week, being like, right, let's do it. Downloaded it, started watching it. And I just really didn't want to do it. And I was torn here now in the fact that it's this thing of being like, okay, you don't want to do it. Okay. Now, the problem here is it's like, this is one of the problems of not having a boss, right? I'm not saying that things wouldn't pan out differently if I was working in an office somewhere, but if I had a boss and they were expecting this work and I promised this work, then I'd have to say to them, I don't want to do it. And then that would be an interesting conversation. And that conversation would depend on my boss. And actually, I've almost exclusively had great bosses over the years, so I think I'd be able to work it out either way. But I mean, in my mind, it's like, it's a blessing and a curse, because on the one hand, it means that like, I really wasn't feeling it and I really couldn't be asked doing it, right? Now, if I had a boss, then maybe they'd say you have to do it. Or if I'd agreed to, agreed to let somebody commission the abridged videos, which I was considering doing, as you remember, and I'm really glad I didn't for this reason, I'd have to do it because I've been commissioned to do it, you know? But I know the way I work, and I know that if I'm not in the mood, if I cannot get in the mood to do it, they will be crap. You know? Like, I could do an abridged video for Sony, but it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. And a lot of people actually, when I said I wasn't going to do it, were kind of annoyed. Some people were annoyed basically because they were like, oh, come on, it'd be great. And I think lots of people are just generally like, don't understand what it's about, you know? I saw a few people being like, kind of annoyed that I wasn't going to do it because they were like, but the Sony conference was crap. And you know, there's so much for you to do. And really what these people want is they want to watch someone savage the conference, you know. They say it was crap, but really it's probably not. It's probably just a bit boring and probably just a bit lots of suits and lots of spiel. And, you know, they kind of want me to basically rip it apart because, and people they should notice that's not what I do with those things, you know. I'll take the piss, but I don't really savage it, you know? And I get the impression that some people aren't able to see that what I was doing with the earlier bridge videos, whilst it often was kind of taking the piss and attacking them, it was more like poking fun at the marketing spiel and stuff. It wasn't just going, fuck you, Sony, fuck you, Microsoft. And maybe some people, because they want to see that, that's what they see in it. They see a sort of almost ranting at how shit these companies are. But that's not what they are. It's not what those videos are. They are mostly poking fun in a good-natured way. And actually, I know I've met some of the people I met lots of people from Microsoft who love the Microsoft abridged videos. You know, they don't. It's not seen as being hateful and attacking. It's seen as poking fun, and often poking fun at more general things rather than the company specifically. Even though occasionally, you know, there are just easy gags that are basically making fun of them and taking the piss out of people for companies for being a bit shit. But I find that funny because it's like, you know, if you want to watch videos of people like savagely attacking and ripping apart Sony or Microsoft or EA or Ubisoft. Fill your boots, you know? It's like YouTube is not short of that stuff, you know? And if you just want to watch somebody getting angry about publishers and angry about console manufacturers, go watch fucking Angry Joe Show or some other fucking pleb, you know? Yeah, I mean, that might sound harsh, but actually I've for a long time I've thought Angry Joe is a bit of a fucking idiot because the way he talks about the industry and talks about industry issues, I'm just thinking, you don't actually know anything about this. Like, it's sort of one of these weird people you sort of think, you've got quite a big YouTuber subscribe base and things, but you don't have a clue. He doesn't have a clue how the industry works. He's fucking absolutely clueless, like, clearly on the fringe. And I've always kind of felt like, you seem like a bit of an idiot to me. But then recently, actually, he was I heard from somebody, an ex-colleague of mine, he was incredibly rude to somebody who I know in a professional capacity. And I just think, yeah, fuck that guy. So yeah, he's a fucking idiot. But yeah, I mean, like there are people who do that, you know, and I'm not begrudging that or belittling that as an activity of people who get angry about publishers and stuff. But I cannot be. Life is too short, you know. I'll take the piss out of it, but life is too short to be genuinely mad about this stuff. I mean, you know, and the things that people get really mad about probably aren't the things that are worth getting really mad about anyway. But anyway, yeah, basically I was like, I couldn't bring myself to do it. And I was basically end up in a position where I was going to be forcing myself to do it. And maybe some people can do it. Maybe some people are more talented than I am, but I can't force myself to be funny. I just can't. Like, yeah, it's really, I can, but it's such a struggle. Like, I can maybe force myself to write funny things, but I don't know. Also, I kind of feel like the joke has just worn itself, like, to death now. Like, I've had a great time making the Abridged conferences, and I'm not saying that I'll never make any ever again, but I think I'm not going to do that stuff again unless it feels like there's something to do there, yeah? Sorry, my light's flickering a bit, but yeah, like, if there's something to do there, I'll do it. Because that's why the original was so good. The original PlayStation 4 Abridged announcement Abridged was so good, was because there was a joke there. There was a lot of jokes there. And the format was designed for the joke, you know? And since then, I've had fun doing it, but they're not as good. And, you know, it's just basically like, take the piss out of what people are wearing and then try and make jokes about the demos. And these things aren't inherently funny, you know? I mean, the only joke you've got there is these things look like shit. Like, well, not like shit, but they just look boring, you know? But you can't just be like, oh, look at these wankers in their suits. Oh, look at these boring games. Well, you can, but it's not what I'm going to do. Anyway, I'm kind of lucky in the fact that I don't have to do them. And I think not doing them is actually the right thing to do. And I understand that it may seem frustrating to you. I understand if you're watching this, you might be going, but for fuck's sake. Duh. And actually, if you did subscribe to Patreon because you were expecting all of them, and because I do feel bad. I did say I was going to do Sony and Microsoft, but actually I ended up doing them in chronological order. And I'm glad I did, because I think the EA one, which I probably wouldn't have done otherwise, is probably one of my favourite ones I've ever done. So I've got no personal beef with that. But if you do drop me a line. If you're annoyed about it for whatever reason, do drop me a line personally. You can contact me on the Patreon page quite easily by just sending me a message, and I'll do whatever I can to try and sort that out. But yeah, wasn't feeling it. So it's not going to happen. It might happen, but for now, I'm moving on. I'm feeling quite good about that, actually, because I felt like it was a rock in the road. I feel sometimes if you've got something big on a to-do list and you cannot cross it off for whatever reason, you just get stuck. And that's why I feel like my video output just slowed down to a halt, because I was like, well, I can't do anything else until I've done that, really. I need to do that. And I kept coming back to a brick wall and being like, I don't want to do it. And so I'm not doing it. But it means I'm doing other stuff. You may have seen this week's Transistor video, and I'm doing a bunch of stuff. I've actually bought myself a nice, you probably can't see this. Woo! I bought myself a nice black and red book, because I figure that I kind of know from experience that if you really want to make a to-do list, and you want to make a to-do list that you're going to use and going to use well, you do need, the higher the quality of the pad, the better. Because if you buy a cheap, flimsy pad, it will just end up getting covered in stuff, and you won't take it seriously. You need a sort of pad of a weight the sort of pad with a weight that says, I'm not fucking about. You do not put coffee mugs on me. You do not cover me with other things. And then it stays there as a constant. So I've got my list. I've taken things off. Feels good. Feels good. I'm scripting a Dark Souls 2 thing. I've got a good idea for a funny video about the PlayStation 4, actually, which is good. I haven't had a funny idea for a while, but it's a good idea. I'm not going to tell you anything about it because it's a surprise. And I think I could tell you about it, but you don't want to know. I don't know when the video will be out, probably in the next few weeks. It requires a little bit more preparation, a little bit more work than most of my stuff. But don't worry, it's not an FTL. It's not another FTL. But I think you'll like that. I think you will like that. And obviously I've got to next week record a lot more XCOM videos. I fucking run out of them. I thought I'd run out completely, but actually I've got one more, which is up tomorrow. But then I'm out. I've recorded 19 episodes and I've got no more, which means I've done that stupid thing of I haven't played XCOM for like a month. Now I have to jump straight back in. So hopefully I won't completely fuck everything up as soon as I get in there. So I almost need to watch my old videos just so I can make sure that I know what I'm doing before I jump in. Anyway, sorry, I was intending to do a really, really, really brief update and then go straight into questions. But I think my hungover and exhausted mind has sort of sent me off on a fucking crazy goose chase of chat back. But yeah, hopefully, again, I mean, I guess I should have mentioned it earlier in the video, but hopefully you guys feel all right about the whole abridged thing. Because the whole point of doing this is that I can make work that is good, not because I have to. And I think that if I was working for a company, I'd have to make it, and it wouldn't be any good. So I think having the ability to make a decision like this is kind of amazing. But I guess you just have to trust me that it is the right decision, really. And I think if I had a boss, I'd probably be able to convince them the same and just say, listen, there's no point doing this. But yeah, I know my own mind, and hopefully you guys will appreciate that, or at least understand that. There's a degree of madness in everything I do, but you've got to kind of understand your own madness, otherwise... Anyway, I'm going to go through some questions now. I was going to try and do all the questions, because I was going to have no update, but then I went up fucking mental, started talking about my dad. Anyway, James Connell says, all right, Matt, I hope you're well. I was wondering where you're at regarding to live streaming, and I guess more specifically, streaming Dark Souls 2 Pantsman. He says, I personally forgive you for not doing a third Pantsman playthrough, as Dark Souls 2 was a little bit of a disappointment, but maybe Pantsman can make a return in Bloodborne. But generally, how are you feeling in terms of live streaming? You do seem very busy, so I understand if it's not really on your agenda at the moment. Basically, it's not. I really like the idea of doing it. And I've dabbled with live streaming a lot, but I think I've just decided it's not really for me. It's not really for me. For a variety of reasons, I think. I mean, first of all, I'm not really a standard YouTuber, which means the level of work I have to put into what I make is probably a bit more than most people. I script stuff, I edit stuff, I try to think about things, I try and make sure I've got my thoughts in order before I start scripting. Also, I'm very busy in the evenings. I record 2 weekly podcasts now, regular features and Dark Souls, and I'm started doing Shut Up and Sit Down. We do meet once every 2 weeks to record a full evening session of the Star Wars pen and paper RPG, which we're putting up in little bits. And also the fact that I often meet up with Shut Up and Sit Down in the evenings to play board games and to film. My evenings are really full. Also, I'm a guy in my late 20s, I'm 30 next year. So I've kind of reached that point where it's I need my evenings. Otherwise, I don't have a social life. I think if I'd started doing this, if I was 8 years younger now, if I got into video a lot earlier, I'd definitely be doing loads of live streaming. But I kind of feel like that time in my life of just having evenings free, I've filled my life with work, really. There's no other word for it. And it's work I love, but that's what my life has become now. And streaming is difficult because you have to do it within those there are only really windows that you can do it in. I did some streaming, actually. I was at one point streaming some Dota in the day, but then the problem is people just get annoyed. People complain that you're streaming at a time when most people are either working or asleep, if you're in America. So I couldn't really win with it. And also, I kind of feel like I'm already cashing in a lot of chips at the moment in terms of getting people to come around to my house. I probably could find somebody to do Dark Souls 2 Pantsman with, but I'm already I feel like I'm already taking a piss with people a lot in the fact that I'm constantly saying to people, hey, can you come around to my house and record Daft Souls? Can you come around to my house and help me do this? Can you come around to my house and record regular features? Can we come around to my house and play board games? And can we come around to my house to record the Star Wars thing? And it's not like I live like miles away from anywhere. I'm not like in the middle of nowhere, but getting around London, it takes time. You know, you can't really get anywhere in less than 40 minutes, an hour. So I kind of feel like at the moment I'm already like fully stretched in terms of getting people to come round to my house. To the degree that part of the deal, if you do listen to Daft Souls, you'll know that part of the deal is that 90% of the time when people come round to record Daft Souls, I buy them booze and I cook them dinner. It's like, because I know that people are busy, and taking the whole evening to come and do something is a massive favor, and I really appreciate it. But it's just, no, it's not really on my agenda. I've had to realize that I can't do everything, basically, you know? If I want to do good stuff, I can't do everything. And whilst I don't want to end up spending as much time as I did with stuff like the FTL video, I do want to make sure that stuff, a bit more of a healthy flow. And that's why I experimented with the transistor video this week of is it good, as a simple way of doing that, of being like, you know what? If I play a game and it's a really, really good game, I'll spend a bit more time making a really good video about it, making something a bit like timeless, a bit something that you could watch in a few years' time and it'd still be a really good representation of why that game's good. You know, that's important to me. But at the same time, if I've spent 2 or 3 days playing a game and I don't think it's that great, I don't want to spend ages making a video which is essentially going, this is not that good. But it also feels like a waste of my time if I've invested that time into the game to not then make a video about it. So I'm trying to celebrate positivity in games, but at the same time, I can't really afford in terms of time to just completely ignore stuff if it's bad. You know, if a game's just a bit crap, I don't want to spend days putting the boot in, but I've already invested time in playing it, so I feel I should do something. So yeah, but I've realized I need to be kind of thoughtful about how I use my time. And I really want to invest more time into doing more one-off stuff, critiquing games, one-off funny ideas. And I think that's going to be my things from now on. I think I'm going to be having maybe one series at a time. I enjoy the XCOM thing. I don't know what will come after that, but one series at a time. And in between that, one-off comedy ideas, one-off commentary on current news or stories which I feel are important and feel like to be highlighted, issues, and one-off things where it's just me playing a game and talking about whether or not it's good in some detail with funny stuff in between. But I feel like if I don't focus, that's already quite a wide amount of things, but I feel if I don't have that kind of laser focus, or this is what I do, then I don't have any time. And that's kind of going mad. I still haven't, I was going to do it today, but then I got hungover. I still haven't actually sat and played games for about 2 weeks, apart from Dota, which I think I'm going to quit because I need more time to play games that aren't Dota for my job, for what I do, you know? Which is a weird thing to be like, I love games, but now I'm going to have to stop playing games I love as much because it's my job. But that's not the first time I've jumped this fence. It's not a small violin occasion. This is very much just the nature of the beast. But yeah, tomorrow I think I've got to go to a wedding in the evening, but tomorrow in the day I think I'm going to play some fucking games. I want to get through Wolfenstein. I want to check out Divinity Original Sin. I really want to play Etrian Odyssey. After listening to Quinn's talking about it on the podcast and listening to some of the music on YouTube so I could put it over the podcast, I really want to play it, even though I know, yeah, I just want to play it. Anyway. Chris Jansen basically talking about how I have that problem of being like sourcing games basically in terms of making videos. He says about how they've got GameFly in the US or video rentals. I've got to say it's not really a money thing that's the issue. It's more like, you know, if I'm playing games, if I was going to use a rental system like that to get games so I could make videos about them, it means I'm going to be getting games like a long time after launch. You know, you often have to wait for popular ones and stuff. So that's kind of the issue, I guess, is it's not about the money of buying games. It's more about the idea of being like, look, am I going to be able to, I guess it comes down like, am I going to be doing videos about games in a fashion that is timely or not? And I think the only answer is not, because doing so, getting early access as an individual to things is a very difficult situation where I need to be constantly emailing all sorts of developers and people like that and PRs to ensure that I got code, and then also they probably get annoyed with me because of my one-man workflow, 80% of things they'd send me I wouldn't cover, which obviously as a PR would be frustrating for obvious reasons. They send you things so you'll cover them. That's the deal. Which with publications isn't much of a problem because you can be like, oh, can we get this person to do it? And if you get really stuck, you can be like, we'll freelance it. But as one man, I can't really do that. However, like if for whatever reason my YouTube channel did become quite big, one of the side effects of it, and I talked about how that doesn't really matter, and it doesn't, but one of the side effects of that would be useful was if I say had like, I don't know, 100,000 subs or something on YouTube, then I'd probably be able to, I'd be in a situation where PRs and publishers would probably just send me early access codes to things, and they wouldn't care as much if I didn't cover it because it's just the nature of the game, frankly. At this stage, it would feel like they were doing me a favor. And if I wasn't then making videos about their games, whether they were positive or negative, it wouldn't, it wouldn't be like, you have to be nice about it. But if I wasn't doing that, then people would get a bit pissed off. So at the moment, I'm just trying to like play games, make videos about them. And that seems to be working, which is kind of weird. Like there's this weird tendency within games that if you don't talk about a game immediately when it's out or just before it's out or just after it's out, then it doesn't matter. And there's this weird kind of churn. And I probably talked about this in my original video for the Patreon thing, but there is a weird focus on what's now, and it's all related to the PR cycle. But I don't think that's relevant. I think the video I put up of Transistor only got about 3,500 views, which isn't a massive amount of views. But for a game that came out a month and a half ago, that's still pretty good. Like, that's fine. I'm trying to go on the basis of being like, providing that the thoughts I have on things are interesting enough and the videos are well made enough, then it doesn't really matter. Because I think games are becoming a bit more timeless now, especially with the nature of Steam sales and PS Plus. This idea of games having a shelf life of if you don't snap them up on the first week, then you're not going to play them. That used to be the way it worked because of the fact that in shops, like, a new game would get shelf space, and then if it didn't sell well, then the shelf space would go, and then they'd get rid of all the old stock, and then you might have some pre-owned copies, but if there weren't many new copies sold originally, then pre-owned copies would become quite rare, and it would become this thing of basically, if you didn't get a game, games at launch were everything, and after that, they became these weird curios that were hard to track down. And it wasn't always like that, but retail changed over the years. And in many ways, retail got very, very, very shit, which is why it's now facing so many problems. But now that's changed, and I kind of feel like a good game is a good game, and the shelf life on that is a lot longer, in the same way that I was amazed that, the FTL video I made got about 13,000 views or something, and that's like, that game came out 2 years ago. So I think there's something hopeful in that we don't have to do this. We don't have to play that game. Providing that the videos are good. But, I don't know, it's an interesting one. Harley Woodcock says, hello, Matt, new patron here. New patron, hello, Harley, welcome. Wants to know, it says, not sure if we spoke about, what's your opinion on the lesser games at E3, such as Scalebound, Phantom Dust, Abzu, Let It Die, etc., etc., etc. Also, what do you think of Kojima's MGS5 trailers? Are you a fan of it? Do you commend him for noting in trailers that he directed and edited them? I say, I've heard some say it's snobbish of him to do so, but I say kudos to him. I think, fuck it. Kojima's been doing a great job of making stupid cutscenes for a long time. I don't see why he should stop now. The nature of things these days might be like, oh, we should get some Hollywood to do it. But, I take the piss out of Metal Gear Solid and I take the piss out of Kojima for the cutscenes, but they are good. I do like them. They're very, teen fantasy stuff, really, but still good. In regard to the lesser stuff not talked about, I don't know. That's the long and short of it, really. I don't have any opinion. And this is a funny thing, because lots of people are saying to me about, why haven't you been talking about, was it Bloodborne? Everyone's like, why haven't you talked about Bloodborne? Some people are getting really angry on YouTube comments and stuff. Why haven't you talked about Bloodborne? I don't know anything about it. I know exactly the same thing about it as you. I can give you some industry insight on what I think it'll be like. I've probably already said this. I think it'll be good. I think it will be the A team. I think Dark Souls 2 was made by the B team. I suspected that for a long time, and I suspected they were working on something else. I just had a gut feeling. Been doing this for long enough to have those. But I don't know. These games, yeah. I think the thing is, if you're at E3, you get to have demos of these things. You get to see them, and then you can have opinions of them. But I'm not going to have opinions on games that I haven't seen. That's a fucking very dangerous thing to precedent to get into, I I can have insights to the industry and I can have insights to the wider picture quite easily because things are cyclical. It's the same things over and over again. But as soon as you start making videos talking about why a game looks great that you haven't seen anything other than a trailer, then yeah, like you're basically, if you're doing that, if you're basically making videos going, I'm really excited about this game, it's going to be great, it's going to be great, and you've not seen the game at all, you've not seen it running as a game, or had it demoed, or talked to anyone about it, then you're just part of the hype machine, you know? That sounds like I'm a fucking, yeah, you're just working for the man. But no, you are, you know, you're facilitating the whole advertising hype machine thing there, you know, and it's kind of just, what's the point in doing that, you know? Like, you're not adding any insight, you're just repeating messages, which is kind of what people want you to do. It's fine. But then at the same time, if you're just dicking on stuff and you're saying, that looks crap, that's shit, that's crap, then what's the point in that? Like, you're just being like needlessly negative. So I kind of just try and stay out of the hype game until I kind of have either talked to people who are developing the game about their game and heard what their design vision is, or until I've seen the game running and I had a go on it, then I'll have an opinion. But up until that point, it just seems irrelevant to talk about it, other than to go, Bloodborne, probably quite exciting. Scalebound, probably quite exciting. Phantom Dust, apparently a cult thing on the Xbox. I don't know, maybe. Yeah, I mean, Let It Die, I'm not a fan of Suda's work. I end up having to block people on Twitter about Suda51. It's all right, but I think he's overrated. I think he's like, you know, it's kind of B tier at best. It's all right. It's all right. I think he makes very cliched stuff, actually. It's like in the same way that like The Mighty Boosh isn't good surrealist comedy, you know. Suda just sort of phones it in a bit, like, and he hasn't always phoned it in. Some of his other stuff, early stuff, was genuinely weird in a really exciting and interesting way. But I think with most of his recent stuff, it's like, oh, look at this weird thing, oh, look at this crazy, oh, look at this crazy thing. And it's all just a bit like, I can't tell if he's just lost his spark, or if he just doesn't give as much of a shit anymore. I suspect it might be the latter, because the amount of games that are like Grasshopper, and it's like his involvement with them is so flaky. It's like, oh yeah, I sort of did it a bit. Yeah, I wasn't really involved in that much. It's like, come on, like, just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with all that stuff. But to be honest, I eventually stopped caring, and I don't think I'm going to cover any of his games ever again, because the fucking backlash I get from fans of his games is horrendous. I mean, regardless of what I think of his body of work, my opinions of his body of work vary between games. I think some of it is very, very strong. I think some of it is quite good. I think some of it's very good but flawed, and I think some of it is very weak. But I will say that his the fans of his work are consistently really, really unpleasant people. Like, I mean, I've had hate from a large variety of people, but interestingly, the hatred I received from people who are fans of KSI and his unbelievably nasty behaviors and misogynistic, yeah, I mean, like, the stuff, I'm not saying KSI is a nasty piece of work, but his work, in the past at least, has been very, very nasty. Not good stuff at all. But the hatred I got from people who are a fan of his stuff was so much less and so much more palatable than the hatred of Suda51, people who love Suda51 stuff, which I think says something, you know? So I'm not saying, obviously, I'm not painting a brush. I'm not being like, all fans of his, or if you're a fan of Suda51 work, then you're an arsehole. But like, I just sort of feel like, I don't know. It was one of those things where it's like, I didn't really feel like in the past, I would regard myself to be a fan of his work. And I'm quite relieved I'm not anymore, because I don't want to be in the same barrel as those monkeys, if you know what I mean. But yeah, anyway. Stephen C. Bauer wants me to update my YouTube channel profile pic to include a picture of my beard, as the current beardless version makes me feel slightly uncomfortable and creeps out for reasons he's unable to fathom. That's kind of amusing. I haven't really got much beard at the moment. It's a bit stale, but I know what you mean. I kind of, I do know what you mean. I'm quite fond of having a goatee, even though it's probably the least fashionable facial hair you can get. He said, have you considered producing a new outro sting, possibly using a slightly different set of swooshing noises? I don't know. Maybe at some point we'll have to see. I'm quite fond of the one I've got at the moment, to be honest. I know it's shit, but I like that. I like shit. Next question, Mr. Waffle. Not a question, actually, from Mr. Waffle. Because I bought a PS4. I've got a PlayStation 4. I haven't actually switched it on yet, but I did switch it on once, but I switched it on by accident, which was embarrassing because I then couldn't switch it off. But I am looking forward to playing around with that. I haven't got any games yet, so I'm rubbish. But there is a degree of odd. Getting new consoles used to be a ritual for me. It used to be a thing of like getting them out, and I think after years of working in tech and just having access to these things before launch and free access to them after launch, that sort of died for me a bit, which is a bit of a shame. It's like now it's like, oh, I've got my PlayStation 4. This is a tool. I need this. Like this is a thing I need to capture. It's but it's fun. You know, I still have childhood joy about other things, just other things. But he's basically saying, I wonder if PlayStation Now could solve my problem of wanting to try a little bit of a lot of games. I mean, maybe. I mean, PlayStation Plus probably as well. Like, I mean, they regularly put things up. And in terms of what I was saying earlier about, I don't feel the need to be timely with stuff, as providing the videos I make are good. That's a good way of getting around it, really, of being able to try lots of things. That's one of the reasons I actually went for a PlayStation 4 rather than Xbox One. One of many reasons, but I think I've been... Xbox Live, when it first came out, was an incredible service that was definitely worth paying for. You know, it was so much better than anything else at the time. And 40 quid a year was a bit steep, but actually you kind of thought what you were getting. It was a good service. But those times have changed, and now Xbox Live, in my mind, is just a bit of a fucking jib, frankly. However, I really like what Sony do. And I mean, I'm not saying that I'm under no illusion here. Sony didn't do PlayStation Plus to be the good guys. They weren't being like, oh, we can be, fuck you, Microsoft, we're going to make a thing where people get free games they can play. It was very much a necessity because Microsoft had set a precedent for so long of being like, yeah, if you only play online games, you've got to pay. But Sony, because they hadn't done that and they had free online for such a long time, if they'd just suddenly gone, actually, you've got to pay 40 quid a year for it, people would have gone, fuck you. So they had to package it up differently. They had to work out a way of doing that, you know. There's no nice guys in business, you know. People paint those pictures and people do that and they go, oh, they've done these, it's the good. There are no, it's all money. There are no good guys and no bad guys. It's all just money. Actually, that's not true. There are good guys and bad guys, but not for the reasons that people think. Anyway, let's have a quick look. Simon James wants to know if I'm going to check out the Long War mod. He kindly says, of course I'm not expecting a new series. Good, because I've heard it's fucking massive. It's annoying, actually. Once I've finished the XCOM series I'm doing at the moment, I would like to check out Long War and Xenonauts, which I played a little bit of the beta a while ago. It's probably got a lot better since then because it was really rough. But I would like to play both those things to a certain level. If only just to make videos about them, actually. Just to make, because I'm a big fan of that genre. I think I know it quite well. So yeah, I definitely would like to check that out. It's on my list, but the list is ever going. Yeah. A Dead Fish asks again, is Pants Man off the cards now then? I'm not saying it's 100% off the cards, but the thing was, I love Dark Souls as a game. I love Demon's Souls as a game. Playing those games, I enjoy. There are things wrong with both of them. I particularly find aspects of trying to do Pants Man in Demon's Souls was very fucking annoying. But I had a lot more fun with it. Whereas like Dark Souls 2, I enjoyed, but I don't really have any desire to play it again, to be honest. Whereas Dark Souls, I feel like Lordaeron's a place. It's a place I want to visit. It's a place I think about. I wouldn't say I dream about it because I'm not lucky enough to have dreams about things that I find interesting. I have boring dreams. But it's a place I think about, and it's a place I want to go to. And Dark Souls is a game I often just load up just because I want to go. I want to go there. In the same way, the original XCOM is a game that I want to have that again. I want to be back in that zone. But in a different way, because XCOM I play because I love the game and love the feeling. But Dark Souls, I love the place. I love the world. And I think I'll keep revisiting Dark Souls for many years. Just loading it up and starting a new game. I never got into the New Game Plus stuff, ever. I always like the feeling of a fresh game. I don't know why. Even if most of them I don't get past about 8 hours and then give up. But I didn't get that with Dark Souls 2 at all. It doesn't feel like a place to me. It feels like a selection of levels tied together. And again, I mean, I'm making a full video about my thoughts about Dark Souls 2, and it will be full. I don't know how long it's going to be, but it'll probably be a really big one, a really epic, kind of more of a kind of maybe half an hour. Might end up being like a little TV show about it. I don't fucking know, but there's a lot to say there. And I mean, I've already talked about Dark Souls in a massive degree, so I kind of feel like, especially because I'm so late. Again, with talking about it. If I'm going to talk about it, I want to talk about it in a really complete fashion. So yeah, you hear more about that now. But I've not really got any desire to play through that game in my pants. It's a weird phrase to say. And as I said earlier about the stress of trying to actually get people here and do that stuff, and not having any life, it's a difficult one. So it's that thing of, I think it would be incredibly stressful. I don't think I'd enjoy it that much. And yeah. Doesn't sound like a good idea. Like in my list of what makes good video, no. The advantage, one of the big advantages we had at Video Gamer was the fact that we had the video studio all set up, all next to the office, and to do a live stream, it was just a case of I was staying in the office for a couple of hours later one evening, which wasn't a big ask. I work well outside of normal hours anyway now. Like I usually get up at work. I get up at 8 a.m. I have a coffee, and I usually end up working till about 7 or 8. I work about a 12-hour day most days. It's fun. I don't mind it. I'm used to it. But when you've got those people there and you can just grab somebody and sit down and just go, it's so much easier. But when travel is involved, in the future, I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. There may well end up coming a time, for whatever reason, I'm able to work in an office environment again, or in a shared environment with other people doing similar things. That would be awesome. But I have no way of doing that now. So for now, I don't think so. Because it's just, it would mean not doing other things. And right now, I think other things are more important. Shane Parwally says, Matt, have you heard about YouTube testing a system similar to what you're doing with Patreon and funding? Yes, I have. It's a tipping system, apparently, where if you like videos, you can tip the creator. I don't know anything about this, really. I mean, obviously, I know about it, but I don't know much about it because they haven't said much about it. I don't know. I mean, I'm not having any opinions on that until I know the full ins and outs of it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like, it might be good for some people, but I don't really think I'll use it. I'm going to be interested to see how it works, but I kind of, at the moment, I kind of like the fact that I don't have to get any of my money through Google, and I kind of like the separation of having YouTube just as a platform, really, because it means I'm not connected to it or invested in it the same way. Yeah, and also I don't know what kind of cuts they're going to take. And I mean, I know that the system I've got with Patreon is obviously they do take a cut of the money I get every month. But also I think they do a pretty good job. I like those guys. I like the people at Patreon. I've talked to them via email, talked to them on Twitter. They're clearly really passionate about what they're doing and really passionate about ensuring that their vision of what they want the site to be isn't going to get clouded by a bunch of other stuff. And they're expanding fast and they're growing, and I'm hoping that will stay the same. I'm hoping that they will remain to be a company that I feel like I can trust. And also, they've been very good with me. I mean, they haven't done me any special favors or anything, but every time I email them about stuff, every now and then I've had, I think I want to know about this, or I want to find this out, or is this good working? I had a problem with payment last month, and I was like, is this working out all right? What's going on with this? They reply really quickly, and they say, oh, this is all that. And also they clearly watch my videos, and they're like, oh, I really like this, really like you did a great job on this. They're clearly really passionate people. And from what I've heard about people dealing with Google, it's just the opposite. It's just like trying to get blood out of a stone. So I'm kind of keen to stick with them, really, and not, cross the streams, especially because of the whole simplicity of having this benefit sponger video that people, obviously, if you don't know, the people who fund me on Patreon, benefit spongers, can watch these videos a bit earlier on Thursdays. Originally, they were going to be exclusively just for those people, but a lot of people who couldn't afford to fund me were a bit sad about that. And yeah, that kind of made me sad, that people would really, really, genuinely really care about watching this bollocks and not be able to do so. And so I asked the community at the time, and everyone said, no, it's fine. Everyone can watch them, which is lovely because you're all lovely people. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of probably won't get involved with that unless it makes sense. I think the only reason it would make sense is I have a lot of people who say to me, Matt, I love your stuff. I don't feel comfortable or don't feel I can afford to have a monthly thing. But I would like to donate. Like, I would just like to give you some money. And I kind of like, the moment I've been ignoring that because I kind of feel like I like that. But if people are in a position where they don't feel financially comfortable to give me like $1 a month or, $5 a month, then I don't want them to, like, because like to me, like I don't want people to feel they have to, because actually I'm in a position right now where I'm very lucky, but I'm in a position where I'm fine. Like, I don't need any more money. Like, I'm actually fine, which is a weird and amazing thing to say. I mean, but yeah, like, so also when people are like, oh, I really want to support you, but I don't feel I can, then please don't, because yeah, I mean, one of the main ways I've set this up is that I'm not holding back any content. It's not like you're missing anything. You will get to see everything I make. Everybody gets to see everything I make. I don't want to create walls. I don't want to create exclusive content that some people can't get unless they're paying money. And that was always a very big part of how I designed this whole system to work. For me anyway, but yeah, don't. Basically, if you're worried about not being able to afford a month, it's like just either just be like $1 a month. I can definitely do that, and $1 a month is still fucking lovely. Thank you very much. But if you can't, then just don't, and that's fine. But having said that, I think Patreon are probably going to implement a system whereby people can do one-off donations at some point, and if people want to do that, they can. But yeah, I don't feel like I'd want to open up another revenue stream with another company just so I could get that, because as I said, I don't feel I need it. I'm not really looking to try and make a vast fortune out of what I'm doing here. That's never really been the aim. I just wanted to be able to do it, and I'm able to do it. So job done. Anything else is just a bonus that I can't thank you enough for, and hope to be able to in the future use in a way that is good. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, just making sure I've got better gear, making sure I've got more time, making sure I've got all those things, and yeah. Anyway, it's tough to talk about these things because I'm very don't want to get emotional, but I'm very thankful for it. It's a very, my life is very strange, and I owe that to you. So thank you. Chevy McBride basically says, actually, he just says some very nice things. I'm not going to read them out because it's just really egotistical, but thank you very much, Chevy. Sam Chapter says, hi, Matt, what other YouTubers are you a fan of? You've mentioned VaatiVidya in the past, and you often tweet techie stuff at PewDiePie. I do. Anyone else, or do you not spend much time watching videos? I don't spend much time watching videos. I've watched like a very small amount of Vaati stuff just because I really love Dark Souls, and he's got a lovely voice. He's got a really nice voice, and I find his stuff very interesting. And I think he's also a creator that he was somebody who very quickly got into Patreon as well. He's somebody who clearly puts a lot of thought and a lot of time into the structure of his videos, and I respect that, and I've got a lot of time for that. PewDiePie, again, actually, I quite like PewDiePie stuff. Again, I don't watch much of his stuff. Like, I'm not his audience, I know that. Like, but I think what he does is largely quite good. And actually, every now and then when I do watch some of his videos, it makes me laugh. He is quite funny. Like, and you might not want to accept that. And I'm not saying that all of his videos are funny, and I'm not saying that even his most popular videos are that funny, because I'm not the audience. But he's a funny guy. He's clearly quite smart, and he's clearly quite funny. And he's got that certain madness that I think is kind of fun. That sort of vaguely unhinged, but in control of it enough that it isn't false. It isn't like somebody being like, oh, look at me, I'm so crazy. That he is genuinely a bit nutty in a really endearing way. And as a fellow kind of slightly insane person, I've got a lot of time for that. Also, he's got good comic timing. You may disagree with that, but I think in terms of what I know about comedy and what I know about good comic timing, I think he's got it. I watch his videos and I think, you did that at exactly the right time. That was quite funny. And I think, I think there are a lot of people in the world who are far more successful or equally successful who are just not deserving it and bad people. I think he seems like a reasonably nice guy who's reasonably talented. So good on him. But other part, I don't really watch many YouTube videos, to be honest. I don't have time. I make stuff, I don't consume a lot of media. As you know, I don't play that many games at the moment, which is something I need to resolve. But I don't have time. Yeah, that's the long and short of it. Like, I don't have time to watch videos. I'm making videos. I'm a workaholic. Like I watch short things, but then I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have time. Especially not to follow YouTubers, like the kind of like people who put out however many videos a week. Like, nah, I don't have time. I feel bad. I feel bad because it's like I'm kind of a hypocrite in the fact that I fucking put out 2 podcasts a week. I don't even listen to podcasts, really. I don't have time to listen to podcasts. Why don't I have time to listen? I'm fucking recording podcasts. I'm a fucking media machine, man. That's what I do. I just make things. Constantly making things. So yeah, hopefully that won't come across as being hypocritical. It's just the nature of my life. Okay. Oh, nice. Very, very, very heavily watered down cheap whiskey with one of my hairs in it. I don't want to drink my own hair. I spend enough time with my own hair as it is. Somebody's asked me about what I think about the fact that you can buy the Freedom DLC for Assassin's Creed 4 as a standalone game. I don't know anything about that, Tom. Tom bit more as that. I don't know anything about that, so I can't really comment. I missed that news. Sorry. Simon Lee wants to know where in the scheme is a plan for adding a proper outro sting. It's not going to happen. I don't know. He says there's nothing wrong with the current one, of course, but realises there's probably a lot. Yes, fair point. He says I'd be curious because he's been quite impressed with my designs and selections of things in my work in terms of backgrounds. And what he's trying to kindly say is I'm clearly a man of taste. Thank you very much. But yeah, I also, whilst I can make things that look quite good and look quite professional, I do take kind of glee in having things that are like knowingly a bit shit. And knowingly being a bit unprofessional, which I guess is just me trying to kind of, I don't know. I may have made my earliest videos on a flip cam with fucking Windows Movie Maker. Now I've got better equipment, but I still take joy in being a bit shit. I don't know. I mean, maybe one day, but my to-do list is already ridiculous. Like, I've got so much boring admin I've got to do. I want to chase up everybody who's on Daft Souls for a headshot of them, so I can put pictures of who's on the podcast in the thumbnail, which is, again, just more work on a weekly basis, but not a huge amount of work. That's doable. And then I also want to... I've been doing this for almost 6 months. I still haven't got a YouTube header image. That will not even take me long. I'm going to put that on my to-do list. It won't take long, but I haven't done it. So yeah, like the ideas of like making another outro sting, I don't know. Maybe I'll mix it up at some point. Maybe I'll treat myself at some point. Maybe I'll set a ridiculous stretch goal. If I can get $20,000 a month, I will make another outro. No. I don't know. I like the shit one. It was sort of like I made it as a joke, and a good friend of mine, Martin Gaston, said to me, I hope you're keeping that. Like, I hope that is actually the outro sting you're going to use. And it's like, yeah, it is. I just knew it was. Before he even said that, I was like, yeah. Just because it seemed so improbable that I would use that placeholder sting for everything. But hey, yeah. Moshtin asks, he says he's got the Game of Thrones board game for his birthday. I wonder if I played it. I have played it. It's quite a good strategy game. I do like the Game of Thrones board game. I enjoy it more because I love Game of Thrones, but it's good. It goes on for a bit too long, but it's a great game. I enjoy it. It's a good strategy game. He also says, what other board games you've been playing recently that you recommend? City of Horror is fantastic, and I still think my one recommendation is Cosmic Encounter is my favourite board game. It's so good. It's probably the best game ever made. I think it's probably better than any video game I've ever played. So good. I must have played about 30 times. So many great evenings with that. Anyway, I will move on. Matthew Arnott has a selection of insane things I could do to do with saying goodbye, which is good. I like that. Thank you. I could do the Queen's Wave, walking on and off camera. I do like... Yeah, madness. Jack Pattinson says, hi Matt, I noticed in this video and pretty much throughout you had your arms in a position that would suggest the holding of a tiny guitar under your desk. However, I don't think that you did. What I'm asking is, if possible, could we have a mystery object under the desk every week? Absolutely not, Jack. Absolutely not. But this week you can. This week you can have a pot plant. Hey! I read the questions before I did the video because I am sometimes slightly professional. There we are. I don't know what to do with this now. It's actually quite heavy. I'm going to put it back where it belongs. And that's this week's joke. I don't do them very often, but there you go. Chris Mead says, I heartily agree with your sentiments on advertisements on online content. If it would be rude to do it in person, it shouldn't be acceptable online either. It's like being dragged off the street into a shop and being harassed to buy stuff. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Or like somebody coming up to you with a speaker and just playing something in your face. It would be rude. And yet online advertisers get away with it because online advertisers have been in control of media for far too fucking long. And they've driven most of it off a fucking cliff. But I won't bang on about that any longer. Rhodes says, have you played the board game Galaxy Defenders? People constantly compare it to XCOM. I haven't actually. And he says, on that note, can you think of any board games that give a similar XCOM-like experience? I think the obvious one's probably Space Hulk. Space Hulk was very XCOM. But I don't know. And finally, James von Schwartzberg, in response to me saying on Twitter that you've got a bit of time to ask me a question before I record the video, says, did I ask this in time? Yes, you did, because actually I was intending to record the video about 2 hours ago, but I didn't because I ended up just getting distracted by a bunch of other stuff, and it's actually quite late now. I don't mind that, actually. I think when my other half isn't here, she's out tonight, I don't mind recording these in the evening because it's basically just like chatting bollocks for a while whilst having a drink. And God, I needed this. I do feel a lot better now, but I'm so tired. I'm so very tired. It's funny, right? Even doing this is actually very exhausting, and I'm not complaining because I actually really enjoy doing this. I think it's, as I've said in the past, I think it's actually inadvertently ended up becoming one of the most important things I do, because even when the quality of my work and the quantity of my work output may come in ebbs and flows, as is natural, and sometimes I bully myself about that, and I think I haven't done anything really good recently, I haven't done enough work recently. You know, like that's an internal battle I'm constantly going to have to fight. But generally speaking, this is a constant that keeps me sane, and also it keeps me straight. It keeps me on the level. It keeps me making sure that I'm telling you about things. You know, it keeps making sure I'm answering questions, answering concerns, and giving you an idea of where I'm at, what I'm doing, and all that jazz. But it's still quite exhausting. And that's one of the other reasons that I'm not doing live streaming, because basically being entertaining and funny for an hour or 2 hours is well tiring. After I was recording Pants Man back at Video Gamer, I used to have to cycle home, and usually I'd have to have a coffee and a banana after recording it just to get the energy to just cycle. I was just like, it takes a lot out of you. It does take a lot out of you. And yeah. Time and energy are finite resources, and you need to start thinking carefully about where you spend them. Otherwise, you're gonna be dead. That was a bit bleak, wasn't it? Anyway, I will see you next week. It's been a long one this week. I think I've blathered on for far too long. But thank you very much for watching. And again, as I was saying, thank you very much for supporting me, if you do. If you don't, then don't worry about it, because everything's all good. Just remember to thank the people who do, because they keep it happening. Thank you very much. Bye!